So earlier today, I was having a conversation with someone, and the question came up, or actually, the statement came up, when life goes back to normal. And my comment was that let's hope it doesn't go back to normal, because normal is what got us to this place that we are in right now today. And so I think about how can I put this in an archetypal perspective here for myself and for those who are listening. So what archetype came up was the archetype of the hero and the archetypal journey of the hero's journey itself. And so if I were to say, okay, let's see, where am I in this journey of the hero's journey? And it would be that we're in the belly of the whale. And so what does that mean? Well, the belly of the whale is where the hero the hero sets out on the journey, and then eventually it gets thrown into the midst of chaos. And in this midst of chaos, and imagine just metaphorically, what would it be like to be in the belly of a whale, a big, huge belly of a whale where there's all kinds of things that are happening, going on, and you're getting tossed and turned, and life just feels like, is it upside down, right side up, what's going on? And then there's the unknown. Will I ever survive? Will I ever get out of this belly of the whale? So this is a very, how can I say this? This is a very kind of unprecedented time for us, where we have not experienced anything like this before in our lifetime. And probably in so many, years, is what I'm hearing when I listen to people who have studied a lot of history, and where the journey of humanity has risen from and has traversed over time. So we're in a time where we kind of are not quite sure how to navigate this. And when we are in survival in any aspects of our life, our go-to thing is, how can I control it? How can I get it to stop? How can I go back and go back to the way it was and get out of survival? But here's what I know about transformation, and when we are in a place of an evolutionary, consciousness that's trying to move forward, is that we don't know when it's going to end. And the last really thing that we want to do is continue to ask the question, when is this going to be over? When is this going to be over? Because many times when we get caught up in that, when is this going to be over, we have lost sight on what's happening right now, presently, in terms of dealing, looking at, addressing what needs to be carefully examined for us in our lives as individuals, and for us in our lives as a whole. And many of you know that my background is that I bring my work as an astrologer into pretty much everything I do by studying the collective themes. And that for me has been very powerful in helping me to understand the why and the timing of things. And as an astrologer, the astrology has been leading up to this. It's been leading up to some type of cataclysmic crisis that was going to happen. I wasn't quite sure what it was going to look like, but now I see it. And what's so fascinating about what is going on is that this is something that is hitting everybody. This is not about any gender issue. This is not about a race issue. This is not about an ethnicity, nor is it about a country. This is about everybody that's in a situation where we are all having to deal with something. So this is not, and I don't want to say this just kind of as a little caveat, if anybody goes into blame, it's that's the wrong place to go, because if you're going into blame, then you're going into victim in some way, and so you want to maybe self-reflect on that for a moment. But there is a deep truth, a deep universal mystical truth that has really, whose time has come, and that truth is that all is one, and that there is only a one life. And with that, unfortunately, what brings so many people together in so many experiences are crises. And how do we take care of each other? How do we look out for each other? How do we look out for ourselves and in that way taking care of others indirectly? How do we be safe? How do we live a healthy life and take the precautions that we're being asked to take? And for me as an individual, it does take a lot for me to go into my victim archetype. Not to say that I don't, but I do. But it takes a lot. And with this situation, one of the conversations that I have been having with other people is that I don't feel like I'm immune to it in any way. I don't feel like it can't infiltrate in my life in any way, because in something like this, it is important to respect what it is that is out there. Because if we don't give it the sort of respect and the intensity, the weight that it's carrying, then not only are we doing a disservice to the healing of what needs to happen, but we are doing harm to those around us by not being responsible and not respecting what's going on. So we're all being affected. And the other thing that I want to say here too about going back to, are we going to go back to, or when are we going to get back to normal, is that it's the normal, like I said, that got us into this situation. It's the normal that became the status quo that got us into this situation. So we don't want to return back to a normal. We need to turn back to a different paradigm. We need to not go back to the status quo. It's not business as usual. It's not. And we don't know how far this is going to go. And so what I was sharing with an individual earlier today is that because we don't know how far this is going to go, this for many people is there already, whereas like, I don't have money. How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to, eat? All of those things. And so we get to that place in survival where we honestly have to hopefully make the choice to surrender to it all. And that is saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm not going to be able to do, some of the very basic survival things. And in the admittance of that, in the acceptance of that surrender, it does one thing for us presently, is it does take us out of the fear of what to come. And I know that sounds like it doesn't make sense, but if we can go and say to ourselves and to those around us, it's like, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but all we know is what's happening today, and that's where I need to be. I need to be today. Because the bottom line is if we can't pay some of our bills, we can't pay some of our bills. It's like the acceptance of that itself. I mean, that's huge for us to be able to just say that, and not to say, oh, the hell with it, but to say, yeah, that's what it is today. So I wanted to come on just to have a conversation and to check in with everybody and see, how everybody is doing, and just to touch base with some of the astrological things that are happening here. And on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I am going to be holding a free webinar, which is about reconnecting to what's most important, and I will be touching on the coronavirus, the astrological chart for that. And the interesting and fascinating thing about that is the first diagnosis came in the month of November, which is the sign of Scorpio, which is the sign of death and rebirth. So this is all very symbolic, metaphoric, and the timing and the astrology of this is exactly what us as astrologers have been seeing. And this is not about prediction. This is about divine timing. This is about universal energy, universal evolution. It's about consciousness. And this is a very serious thing that's going on, right? It is. And so we really need to be mindful of that, and to take it, and not from a place of fear, although fear is present. You've heard me talk about this before. It's not about allowing the fear to take you over, but allowing the fear even sometimes just to be present, and not trying to control it and not allowing it to control us, but acknowledge its presence, move forward as mindfully as we can. So I'm going to be putting up the link for the webinar this Wednesday. I hope you join me. It will be recorded, so if you can't make it, you can just sign up and register, and I will be sending out the replay. And I am going to continue to put on and put together a sort of roundtable community, free opportunities for people to come in and join, and so that we can share wisdom and insights about where we're at and what we see and how we can support each other. So I hope this was of some help for you. Namaste.